Greetings, everyone. Welcome to Artcasters 123. And I am here, as always, with Joshua Kemble.
How's it going?
What's going on with you, Josh?
Not much. Just drawing some images, and yeah.
Where can they find you?
Oh yeah. You can find me at quarterlystories.com, and you can also find my graphic novel serialized at topis.io. Search for Quarterly Stories and add it to your library there. And you can find me on the YouTubes as Joshua Kemble. Yeah.
All right, and you're on my channel, so I would assume you know who I am, but if you don't, Scott Serkland with Serkworks Art Labs. My information is down here. And today we have a special guest. Now, just first off, I stumbled upon his channel because he had an interview with Jake Parker, and I was just kind of blown away. It's not like a huge channel, but the content he's got on there is just amazing, and I'm really curious to know how he's doing all this and everything. And then I subscribed to his email list and everything, and he's done really great with this email list, and just now I've been on it like 2 or 3 days, and I'm getting the messages and everything, and I'm kind of seeing behind the scenes how this thing works and everything. It's definitely, I've been trying to get my email list together for a long time, so I'm really anxious to talk to Dan here. But Dan, why don't you introduce yourself and tell everyone where they can find you? And I also hear that you just launched a Kickstarter, which I backed, so.
I did. I saw that. Thank you so much. You were one of the first ones, Scott. Thank you. Yeah, well, my name's Dan Ekis. I make comic books. And if you want to find out anything about me, just go to my website, danekis.com, danekis.com. And yeah, I have a Kickstarter going on for a fantasy comic book right now called Soul of the World. And it's basically the fulfillment of my lifelong dream to publish my own comic book. So it's really exciting.
So what's Soul of the World about?
It's about a group of travelers who encounter a deadly series of challenges in the desert, including a mysterious young witch. So that's kind of the jumping off point.
He's got the pitch all down and everything. That's what we try to teach everybody. Get that pitch down. Get that pitch down. So
I don't have the pitch down.
No, I mean, I think, and also on your videos and stuff, I've seen a few, and it's really the way you've done everything. I mean, it's like you've done your homework, and as far as creating, basically, I don't want to call it a system because that kind of sounds manufactured, but I mean, I don't know. I mean, I guess I should go back, and you said you've kind of been doing this professionally for about 3 years. I guess I'm kind of curious, kind of how you started off. I know you had mentioned, after school and everything, you were finding it difficult after art school, you went to school for animation then?
Yeah.
And you were finding it hard to find work, which a lot of people are in that same thing. And now, I mean, I don't know where the turning point was exactly, but now, I mean, it's like everything you're doing. I mean, I look at you and I just see great things in your future because, I mean, I just think everything you're doing is just perfect. And one of the reasons why I wanted to have you on, Dan, is because like Josh and I, we've been doing this professionally for, well, many years, me more than Josh. I'm a little bit older, but like everyone is always asking us kind of how we broke into the business and all that. And it was a totally different time kind of when I did, and I assume Josh as well. So somebody a little younger who's starting to do this now and seems like they're doing everything right, I think it'd be really helpful for, for our audience. So I'm curious where that turning point was and how it all came about.
Well, I hope I'm doing some things right. So I don't know about everything. But no, and Scott, I just want to say I love your whole branding for your whole channel and everything too, man. Just like the robots and the aliens, it's so cool, dude. And I love your drawing style, how streamlined it is. But no, yeah. So the turning point was I got out of school. I went to Edinburgh University in Erie, Pennsylvania, and I studied animation there. It's a great school for animation. But when I got out, like I wasn't very disciplined when I was in school. And when I got out, I basically just like hit rock bottom and got really depressed and knew something had to change. So like my whole life I'd been sort of making comic books and drawing and writing stories, and I knew I wanted to do something with that. I had this degree in animation, so I decided to make a animated feature film. Not right away. I did a couple like smaller animation projects, but long story short, I guess what's brought me like down this path of I've always been fascinated by like how artists can make money off their art and not have to work for other people.
Right.
So like I made this animated feature film, and it was really avant-garde, Josh. So you might be into it. But I was trying to figure out how to sell it, and so like I was reading all these like online marketing books basically and just applying what I learned, and I was able to sell this film, and like people are still buying it, and that made me realize like if you've seen the film, I describe it as like the furthest thing from Moana that you can imagine. Like it's really indie, you know? And so like I'm like, oh, but people will spend money on your art. It doesn't matter what it looks like if you just like follow these like steps. And so yeah, I don't know. I'm rambling now. What does that answer the question?
Yeah. I mean, now, so you launched, did you already have like the mailing list and everything in place when you, basically, I think the thing we want to talk about today is just how do you build that audience?
Okay.
And so, I mean, you've got the comic book, but you could spend all this time on a comic book or whatever your own project is. But if there aren't people that are aware of it, it's like if a tree falls in the forest, so what do you do? So
Yeah.
how do you go about building that audience? And I don't know if you had sort of the email list in place, because this is something that I do have a plan for my email list, but it's something that I still need to work on and everything. And but you know, the way I was going to do it is a little different than yours, but yours is really, I mean, I was really impressed with the way we did that. Now you said you were able to reach like 1,000 subscribers in a few short months. Is that correct? Or
It was like in between 3 and 6 months. I wasn't really keeping track.
that's still pretty good, I think.
Yeah, it wasn't bad. In a few months, I was like, whoa, like this. Well, what happened, Scott, was a friend of mine he does internet marketing for this place that he works for his doctor. And basically he's like, dude, you need to take this book and use it like for your art. You know what I mean? Like you could use this to like blow yourself up. And I'm like, okay. And I'd been doing Instagram and stuff, and I didn't really know how to build an audience or anything. So I got this book. It was like an online marketing book again. And I basically just did what they told me to do in there. They're like, yeah, set up an email list. This is how you like get people interested in your work and create like top of mind awareness, which basically means you want to be everywhere, right? You want to be the first person that people think of when they think of like who's a cool artist to follow. You know, they want to think of like Scott, you know. So that's what got me doing the email list. And to build it, like you really just have to have like what's called an opt-in offer.
Right.
So basically you want to give people something cool for free for signing up for your mailing list. And you put that on what's called a landing page, which is just like a simple one-page website. They're ugly. They're not even like pretty to look at. It's usually just like an attractive headline and maybe like a picture of what they're getting. So like I've done ones where it's like, you know, be notified of my comic book when it goes on Kickstarter or something, right? And so basically and you just want to get as many people on that landing page as you possibly can. And you do that by putting the link right in your social media bio, right? So anytime you like comment on someone's photo on Instagram, they're like, oh, let's check this person out. They see your bio, they see this like attractive headline, they see a link like, oh, what's that? They click the link, and then all of a sudden they're on your email newsletter. And the importance of having a mailing list, I found, is like social media platforms kind of rise and fall. And like Facebook used to be the biggest, but now it's Instagram, and Facebook's made it harder and harder to promote yourself. You can just tell me if I start talking too much.
No, I was just going to interject and say that it seems like Instagram is going the exact same way that Facebook
well, they are.
so.
Yeah. Yeah, and they're owned by Facebook, and they're making it so you have to pay for sponsored posts now. So, like the platforms are going to come and go, but the thing that's outlasted everything is email. So that's why it's important. Like I was watching a video with this girl who had like 100,000 followers on MySpace or whatever, and like she had to start from square one once everyone stopped using MySpace. So like people place so much importance on like having 100,000 Instagram followers, but like 10 years from now, that might not mean anything, so.
Yeah, I mean, I know like with my Facebook, I've got over 1,000, and now depending on who you are, I mean, it could be a lot, it might not be a lot, but out of those 1,000 people that follow me on Facebook, when I post something, I get maybe 2 or 3 likes. I mean, people, once they initiated that new algorithm, it was like just a waste of building an audience. So it definitely, I agree with you as far as the email. And going back to the book you read, what was the book? Do you remember?
It was Expert Secrets by Russell Brunson, because the book is all about like how to build an online course.
Right.
And I was building an online course teaching animators how to freelance at the time. But if anybody wants like a good primer, you should read .com Secrets by Russell Brunson, because it's basically how to sell anything online.
Right.
There's that book, and then there's a book called Launch by Jeff Walker, and one of the groups of people he actually wrote that book for was artists. So
awesome. And now the other thing is, I mean, a lot of people, you can tell them, check out these business books, just follow the plan. And the thing is, a lot of people, if they do it, I mean, it seems like, because I've read a lot of those books and everything, and I haven't taken full advantage of, like, I think you have, because I noticed just by watching the way you're doing your mailing list and watching your videos and everything, you're really taking all those steps and actually implementing them. Whereas somebody like me in the past, it was kind of like, well, I'll do certain things or whatever, or I'll kind of just do things my way. But by actually, if you actually do what some of these things say, I mean, you'll find success like you did with the mailing list. So
yeah.
The other thing I think is in this is it's kind of a testament to just how you carry yourself and everything, because when you watch, if anyone's interested, I mean, I would just say everyone go out and check out Dan's YouTube channel. He's got tons of interviews and tons of just great content on there. A lot of stuff that kind of teaches you kind of how he went through this whole thing. But you're really great at just the positive energy and everything, and getting that word out, and basically, and that's part of it. It's identifying with people. Letting people kind of know what your struggle was, how you your successes and everything, because people can relate to that kind of thing, and you're really good at that. So,
thank you, man. I really appreciate that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I love your energy too, man. You're so like enthusiastic. I love it.
Well, the thing is, I mean, and everyone's got their own style, and that's why sometimes I wonder, because I mean, I think you could show a lot of people the way you're doing everything. But I think in some ways we have to find our own way to do it, because everyone's got their own strengths. You're really good at describing how to do this, and like I said, connecting with that audience and everything like that. Not everyone's as good at that. So somehow, if you're in that position, you got to find what your strengths are, and I guess play to that. See, my strength is branding, but I'm yet to kind of implement a successful email list. And like I said, I do have sort of a plan. I've got that incentive and everything that I'm working on, and so there's all of that. But I don't know that I could just turn on the camera and just and just talk about the business building everything like you do. So I mean, I think I would take some of those cues from what you're doing, but I would have to do things a little differently, because I don't know. I mean, I do when I do YouTube. I mean, my goal is to help people and help them, make a living doing art, or just become better artists and everything. But I don't know if I could really do it as like. I mean, there are certain things I think I could do as a class, but I don't know. I mean, I guess it's a little different. So I'm kind of trying to find that middle ground for me, like the best way for me to go about it. Because I don't think everyone can kind of do the way do it the way you're doing. And again, I mean, you guys have to kind of check out. I would also suggest that you subscribe to Dan's email list, because I did, and like all the stuff he talks about, you can, because he's telling you how to do all this stuff, and then you see it in actual practice as he's doing it, and it's not fake, and it's not. I mean, it's sincere, but there's also, you know, there's a plan behind it too.
Mm. Yeah, that's what, and like a lot of the online marketing people that I'll study, that's exactly what they do. They're teaching you online marketing while they're marketing to you and selling you stuff. Right. But yeah, like you were saying about like teaching, like I'm just teaching this stuff because it's what I've had good results with, basically, and I know it's going to get good results for other artists. Like a lot of artists will do tutorials on how to paint a nose in Photoshop. And it's like, I'm not super skilled at painting in Photoshop, but I know, like, I've been a freelancer for 3 years. I've had to learn how to sell myself. I've had to learn how to market myself. And I started to realize, like, a lot of artists, they don't know how to market themselves, but they don't read marketing books. They don't know how to sell, but they don't read books on sales. They don't know how to build a following, but they don't read books on leadership. And, like, this is stuff I've just been studying anyway. So I'm like, I just need to share this. Like, people need to know about this stuff, you know?
Yeah. And I the other thing is, I think, especially, I hesitate to say younger artists, because maybe newer artists, because, you know, there's a lot of young artists that just are knocking it out of the park like crazy. But I guess when you're just starting off, I think there's this sense of urgency that you have to, you know, get everything. You know, I want to make a living right now. I want to do all this stuff right now, and they, you know,
guilty,
same thing with
guilty.
Same thing with. Well, and I think in some ways you're kind of doing that, but especially with like learning, you know, how to draw. Everyone, it doesn't seem like anyone wants to put in the time, you know, and it's kind of like I liken it to kind of like the Marvel universe versus maybe like DC or some of these other, you know, like when Universal Studios try to do their monster universe or whatever. Like Marvel, they had this plan, and they didn't rush to everything. It's all meticulously planned out for years and years on how they're building this universe, and that's why it's successful. But I think when you look at that model, you think, well, okay, they're having so much success, but we got to do it like right away. And I think that's where people fail. But yeah. I mean, patience is such a huge thing, because you just can't become a great artist like overnight. I mean, it just takes so much practice, and you have to be ready for that. And you've got to love being an artist as much as just about anything, I think, if you're going to be successful doing this. So that being said, I'm kind of curious, because you had mentioned that you created I don't know, I've heard a lot of different terms for it, but what is the incentive? What did you call the incentive for people to join your email list? What do you call that?
There's different names for it. I just call it free opt-in offer. So people opt in to your list, yeah. Okay,
so you said you created this free opt-in offer, but really there's a whole plan behind it. I mean, because when I first joined, you kind of started telling your story and everything, and then you link to a video, and then there's another video, and these are just like short little videos. I mean, that's kind of what I was talking about earlier, as far as the way you can kind of describe this whole thing you're doing. I mean, it's like, I don't know, it was maybe a couple of half-hour videos, maybe longer, just going into all this valuable information that obviously you're giving away for free, in hopes that obviously that can help build your audience. Because as much as I rarely can spec work and everything, I don't think that this is the same thing. I mean, the freemium model kind of is a whole different story. And plus you're marketing yourself. You're not doing this for somebody else. But if you're willing to put things out, just like Josh and I do on YouTube, letting people, giving, the whole thing about, and I don't find artists do this as much nowadays, and maybe some inexperienced artists do, but don't be afraid to let people know, how nothing should be secret. Because the thing is, you could, like you said, I mean, you've shown pretty much how to do everything that you're doing, but not everyone is going to take you up on it, for one. And if they do, then more power to them, because they're going to have to put a lot of work to do that. So, I mean, don't be afraid to give that information out there and share that information. But so I'm kind of curious, how long, what was kind of the ramp up time, or how long did it take you to create all the videos? Plus there's also like PDFs that you can attach, or like worksheets that you can download. And it's a whole system. And if you don't, if you want to I didn't click. I assume the MP3s are just the videos, but in audio format, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, if you don't have time to sit in front of YouTube and watch something, if you want to download something to your phone and on your commute or whatever, you've got the audio files, which is really
people ask me for those, so I added them. Yeah.
Well, and that's a good thing. That's the other thing you talk about is basically, I mean, that's kind of your whole system is asking what your audience wants and giving it to them. So why don't you talk a little bit about that? I know we're kind of going all over the place, but that just brought up kind of how you did that, how you talked about how, you know, you went on, I don't know, it was a Facebook group or whatever, and you're saying, hey, what's your biggest problem with whatever? And then just basically taking all that information and then finding solutions and coming back to them with that. So explain a little bit how that whole thing works. Okay,
sure. Yeah, well, basically, when I was building that animation course, like it was like a year of my life, because basically I'd learned all this stuff from freelancing. I'd made a lot of mistakes, but I also had like some success, and I was making, you know, a full-time living and everything. And I was like, this is like a good way for a kid fresh out of college who has an animation degree to get started in animation. So I would feel bad if I didn't put this out there, but I'm not gonna like write a book. So I figured, okay, if I just do like a video course, that's a good route to take. But anyway, when we were making that course, I couldn't get people to buy it, like, even though I knew this was something they needed. But then when I got that one book from my friend, Expert Secrets, which is like how to build an online course, basically, it says in that book, it's like, just ask people, like, what are the biggest problems they're having? And those are the modules for your online course. And I was like, oh, like, duh. And so I've been taking that approach to like the free content that I put out now. I'm like, okay, I'm going to like take a shot at doing a YouTube channel. Why not? And I just asked like artists and friends of mine, like, hey, what are the biggest problems you're having? And they started telling me like, money, building a following, getting exposure. And I'm like, okay, cool. Like I know a little bit about that. So, and I just make my free content based on that stuff. And that way, you know, people are going to like tune in basically.
Right. Yeah. And you mentioned your YouTube channel. I mean, not only are you kind of, you know, building this following, but you're making all kinds of awesome connections with a lot of really cool people out.
Like Scott Serkland.
And Josh.
I've
been kind of monopolizing the conversation. I'll give Josh a chance to answer some questions and everything too, but or ask some questions. But yeah, I mean, you got interviews with Jake Parker, Jim Lujan, Jason Brubaker, and a lot of other people that I've seen before on other interviews. And I mean, you've got some heavy hitters and everything, and it's just cool because in doing this, you've introduced yourself to these people, and these are people who are successful, and you know, success breeds success, and it's like you're building this network of friends. And I mean, it's you know, something that, I mean, and a lot of it is just like, sometimes you just got to ask. Like, you know, we were talking about a little bit before the show, and like, I'm like, yeah, how did you get Jake Parker? Well, I asked him. And now that doesn't mean he's got time for everyone or whatever, but I mean, maybe he checked out Dan's channel and said, hey, this guy's got something going on. He knows what he's talking about and everything. So I think you have to put a little homework into it and everything. But it's cool that you're able to kind of reach out to people and talk to cool people. And yeah, it's kind of inspired me. I think, you know, we might try to get some other people, even though I really like all the guests and everything we have on the show, especially like the returning guests. And sometimes it's helpful with the show like this when you really know the people, because then you kind of you can kind of a little bit deeper. So we don't want to move away from that, but sometimes maybe we can get some people that are, you know, really super successful or whatever, and share some of their ideas and everything. So I don't know, but yeah, I think it's kind of cool, you know, and I just, I don't want to say this. The one thing I get one of the comments I always get on my channel, and it kind of, and it's meant as a compliment, but sometimes it kind of bothers me. But a lot of people go on my channel and they'll say, "Oh man, I like your channel. You should have way more subscribers." And it's like, well, yeah, it's kind of don't. It's not really that easy. but you don't have a whole lot of subscribers, but but your channel is like super awesome. So I can only see, I mean, you just got to keep with it and everything, and it'll grow. I mean, that's what I found, because I've been on YouTube for years, and it's finally starting to pick up a little. So, but and again, back to that sense of urgency that a lot of people have, especially people on YouTube. They just want everything right away, and they don't want to put in the time and the effort. And sometimes it's different for everyone. Some people right out the gate can become, they've hit on something big, and all of a sudden they've got 100,000 subscribers, or whatever. And some people, it takes a lot more time. But I think you have to enjoy doing it, and you have to love, giving back and everything. And just keep doing that, and then eventually I think it starts to happen.
It's like you were saying, Scott, about just being an artist. You have to love making art.
Right.
It's not gonna just happen. But yeah, I mean, I've been doing this for a few years. Like, I started off doing an animation podcast, and the reason being, I was an independent animator, and there wasn't a huge animation community in Pittsburgh, and I just wanted to make friends. Basically, I was like cooped up in my studio all day, so I was like, I'll just do a podcast. Why not? And I just started reaching out to people, and go back and listen to my first podcast. Like, I was so awkward. And like, I've been doing this for a couple of years now, and I'm just now like starting to get comfortable on camera and all that. So yeah, it takes time.
Yeah, I was just checking the chat. Everyone, the chat wants to know what you're working on, Josh.
I'm working on a crazy panel with like a bunch of snow, and it's like, sorry, it's kind of pulling my brain two directions. I actually wanted to ask some questions. Like, I know our topic's like marketing, but I mean, we just kind of glossed over the fact that you mentioned you animated an entire motion picture.
I did, yeah.
What are these things to talk about?
Wait, I didn't.
65 minutes.
How long is it?
65 minutes.
Oh my! I just thought it was a short. I didn't know.
2 years. 2 years of my life. Yeah.
Wow.
So
okay.
Did that the whole thing from the ground up, or?
I animated it in After Effects, and then I hired my friend Nico Freeman, who, if anybody needs a composer, check her out. She's so good. She did the music for it, and then I had a sound designer, Chris Bell, here in Pittsburgh, who did the sound design. So, and then a girl who did like a couple lines of dialogue. But yeah, other than that, I did everything else.
So did you hire these people, or like was this like?
Yeah. Oh, I paid them. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh wow! So like that's a pretty big investment, man.
It was only a couple grand for them. Like, the real investment was the time and energy and heartache and bank account going negative a lot working on it. So.
Well, at least you're willing to pay people. A lot of people, when they're doing it, I mean, you get so many of these like, oh man, you'll get paid when we make money off of it. Of course. That usually doesn't pan out. So, I mean, anyone that's starting a project, I mean, whatever you can do, if you have to work an extra shift at your day job or whatever, put a little money aside if you can, and like, pay people to help if you want them to help you out, or at least do some kind of a trade out. If you don't have extra money, but you have whatever skills you have, give something in return, because it just, a lot of times, we put a lot of time in these, and these are our personal projects, but for somebody who's working with us, it's not their personal project, so you can't really expect for them to have that same passion for it. Hopefully they will have passion, but you still have to. I mean, you still, if you can, find a way to compensate them. So
yeah, for sure. So pre making this movie, like what was what inspired you to do it? Were you kind of working professionally before that? Was this like fresh out of school?
No, this was probably like a year or two after I got out of school. I had made a short film. Like, when I hit the rock bottom depression, I made a animated short film with some friends of mine that kind of pulled me out. And I was like, that was like the art saved my life moment, basically. Yeah. And then I did like an animated music video for a friend of mine who's a hip hop artist. And then just like a bunch of other little short projects. But I was doing commercial like motion graphics and animation. And it was a lot of like clean corporate animation, and I wanted to do something artsy because I was, I study film, and I was studying like stamp brackage and reading books like Expanded Cinema and all this like weird avant-garde stuff. so yeah, no, that's kind of what inspired it. And I was just basically asking myself, like, it was just always a dream of mine to make an animated film. And I was like, if I had 1 year left to live, like, what would I want to do? And I was like, well, I'd want to make this animated science fiction thing. So I did it. Yeah.
And so like when you completed, I mean, you invested like 2 years and you know, I mean, it's not a ton of money, but still that's a lot if you're like, you know, doing gig to gig, like that's a pretty big investment. So like, so you did all that and then you completed it. Did you distro it? Like, how did you go about that? Because you were talking about like kind of a unique model to like kind of putting that out there, you know?
Yeah. Well, basically what I did was I modeled book launches for nonfiction authors who, like, people need to, especially people listening who do comic books, start studying the nonfiction space, because there's like authors who are making they're doing six-figure book launches online, and start to study their models. And that's basically what I did. I took this like free online course on like how to market your book, but I just applied it to my film and sold a digital download on a website. So
Nice. Was it through your own website or was it through like a distributor or like?
no, just me. Yeah, I set up like a page on Lead Pages, and it's through Shopify. You can download the film. So
Man, that's awesome.
thanks, man.
So did that happen before the podcast? Like
No, I had been doing the podcast. It was probably around the same time when I started podcasting. I started working on the film, because that's when I was like, I really got serious about like being an artist and everything. So
That's awesome. So a lot of it was kind of, a lot of the juice for it kind of came out of a reaction to doing corporate work.
yeah, that's why it's so. If you see it, it's so grungy and like angry. It's like,
That's perfect.
yeah.
Yeah, because like I was reading, checking out your stuff like before this, because you know, Scott was like, "We're gonna have this guy," and I was like, "Sweet!" Like, so I checked out your work, and I didn't have time to watch the whole movie. I'm gonna watch it right after this because I think it's available, right? Like,
Yeah, danekis.com. You can get it, man.
nice. So I'll have to check that out. But that's amazing. I mean, like, for anybody, like I'm friends with Jim, and like his animations, like the shorts even always blow me away because he uses a lot of limited animation and tricks and cheats and stuff to kind of get
That's
it
what I
done.
did. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, like it's a huge time investment. It's like, to me, animators make cartoonists look lazy. Like it's the only industry that makes like somebody working on a graphic novel would be like, what you got to draw like a couple thousand drawings? So what, dude? Like,
Yeah. Try then making those drawings move. That's why I switched over to comics, because like I've been making comics since I was a kid, you know, and I'm like, I just want to tell as many stories as I possibly can before I die. So it's like I'd rather just, you know, write the story and draw it and then maybe like later in my career, like I'm thinking of just taking the Miyazaki approach, where like start off as a comic artist and I have all these stories that I own and I can turn them into animated films later.
Yeah, and you've honed that ability too. So I'm sorry, my son's got a cold. He's like sleeping, but you'll hear this little like poor little dude coughing in the corner.
That's okay.
So like what? Okay, so like your comic now that you're kickstarting, like how long is that? Is that a single issue? Is that like a full graphic novel? Like what length is that? Is it completed, or are you?
Yeah, well, it's a 25-page first issue. The artwork is all done. We're just basically raising the money to get it lettered and printed. And Marco Della Verde is the letterer who, he's done projects for Image Comics, IDW, a bunch of other like big names. But yeah, it's the first part of a 4-part series, and I'm drawing like issue 2 right now, and we're on track to have it all drawn by this summer. And then after this Kickstarter, like hopefully we reach the stretch goals so we can letter more than 1 issue. So that's what I'm aiming for.
Nice. And then like how long, you know, so you've been you penciled, inked, and colored the entire thing?
The first issue, yeah.
Okay, so like how long ballpark did that take to do? Out of curiosity.
I didn't track it. I haven't been good about tracking. And one of my friends told me I should do that, but on average, like on a good day, I can bust out like one page in like 8 hours probably on a good day.
Yeah, I wish I had 8 hours to work on my book.
And I don't most days. That's the problem. It's like I do 3 hours in the morning before I start work, and then sometimes in the evenings. But
Nice. So that's awesome though. I mean, it sounds like you're finding avenues to make your art and get it out there, and kind of like get it produced. And I think that's pretty cool because like even the fact that like you didn't wait for somebody to greenlight your animation, that's a small club of people who like do their own animated movies. Like
yeah.
it's a very small little group.
And that's what I saw too, was like I saw people like Jim and obviously Bill Plimpton, Ralph Bakshi, like those guys had been around for a while, but there's this whole new wave of like independent animated filmmakers like M. Strange and like all these people like Eric Power, and I was like, oh, this is like a cinematic movement, like the French New Wave, like this is like a new wave of animation. I'm like, oh, I can be part of that. So I guess it was a little selfish, a little bit, too.
No, that's awesome though. I think it's cool that, like, I mean, Scott and I talk about this all the time on this channel, but it's like, like there is this like weird kind of thing to like kind of making, like, even pursuing comics. It's not like the highest paying thing you could pursue, but there's something really cathartic and cool about kind of like finding that ability to get it done, and now at the same time like have complete control over like the outcome and like the whole story and stuff, and it sounds cool to me. It sounds like like Scott was saying, it's cool that you're adding value for people as well, and kind of giving them like knowledge and experience and things that you're gathering while you're kind of working on these things. And at that same time, you found a way to kind of do that and sort of help monetize like the creation of these things, which like are really hard to monetize.
Mm-hmm.
So it's
and
like,
that's what we got to crack, man. And that's why I want to share like the stuff I'm learning, because I don't have all the answers, you know what I'm saying? But it's like,
oh yeah,
like I'm seeing like the blind spots that a lot of artists have,
yeah.
And I'm like, there's a lot that we could do. Like,
So that's brilliant. Go ahead, Scott.
I was just going to say, so I mean, and you don't have to do it alone either. You brought up Bill Plimpton, and so I know you've got the podcast, but then you also have these. What are they? They're master courses, or I heard you mention that you had some kind of a master course with Bill Plimpton, and then you got this. What you've got sort of a mastermind group, this Kid Millionaire thing. So you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, well, that's exactly what it is. I just never call it a mastermind group because most artists like don't know what that means. But yeah, basically, the Kid Millionaire Clubhouse is an online community of artists. We're based off like a private Facebook group right now. But basically, the point is to help artists get their next 1,000 followers who will pay for their art, because that's the biggest problem that people are having. It's like, how do you actually get paid for your art? So we have master classes with people who are actually doing that. Like Bill Plimpton's been doing that for decades. Jason Brubaker's been doing that for a few years very successfully. So we just did a master class with him, and he basically broke down like, look, here's how I make my money. Here's how you can do it too. And it's like, this is actually real. Like, we can actually make a living off our art. So it's really exciting. And we got like a really great group of artists in there. So.
That sounds really awesome. So, because I guess I just signed up for your email newsletter a couple days ago. So eventually I don't know where to find these courses, I guess is what I'm asking. Is that something that's going to come later, or?
Oh, you're going to get a sales pitch if you sign up for my email newsletter. Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
I don't know which one you signed up for, but I usually only promote it when we have a master class coming up,
Okay.
so I'll promote it really hard for like a week. But right now, I'm focusing all efforts on promoting the Kickstarter. So
Right. So how many of these master classes have you done?
we have done 3 so far. We want to do one a month, and we have enough members now that we can do one a month. So we did one with Joelle Jones, who just was working on Batman for DC Comics, and she was talking about sort of how to market yourself as an artist. And then we did Bill Plimpton, and then we did Jason Brubaker. So yeah, 3.
Cool. And now, are these only like live? Because you said you only promote them when they do them. Are they live, or are they something that's recorded that you can watch, or how does that work?
Yeah, well, yeah, it's members only because we have to pay
Right.
the artists to come like prepare their talk and then come talk to us.
Okay, I see.
Yeah, it's the live stream just like this. We do it through like a private Google Hangout.
Oh,
And we have
okay.
we have
I see.
we have like a chat box where people ask questions and stuff. It's really fun.
Okay, cool.
And then we save the recordings for afterwards. So like anyone who's a member, you can go back and go through them.
Okay. Yeah, I wasn't sure if you could just purchase the videos, but you join, because I wasn't sure, what the clubhouse was. So is it open to anyone as long as they, whatever the fees involved?
Yeah.
Or okay, I see.
Yeah.
I see. Okay.
Yeah, it's $15 a month, but we got people who are working in the comic book industry, and then we got people who are like just starting out, learning how to draw. So it's open to anyone. It's if you want to just be an artist, if you want to learn how to make money off your art, that's for anyone who wants to do that.
That's awesome.
So it sounds like kind of like a community that's like pulling their resources to get.
Basically, that's exactly it. Yeah.
That's cool. That's a good idea.
Yeah. It's fun. Yeah, and I learned so much just from the other members that are in there. You know what I mean? Not even just the master classes, just the other people that are in the group. It's like really like smart people that know a lot more than me about certain topics. So.
Yeah, I've heard of similar programs like through like with Facebook groups and everything, and I'm trying to figure out if something like that would work for me, because I don't know. Do you follow Roberto Blake?
I think so. It sounds familiar.
Yeah, he does. He has something similar. I think it's Awesome Creator Academy or something like that. But he's on YouTube. He's fairly large YouTuber, and he does things to help creatives and other people as well. It's mostly kind of YouTube centric. But he's got something like that, and I've heard of some other people. I'm wondering for me if I don't know. I find like YouTube chats one because I don't I guess if is it like a live chat like this, or is it like just like a YouTube thing where you're typing and texting and all that stuff? Because to me, because part of what I'm doing is like I've got a full-time art job, and then I come home and do my own stuff. So I just don't know if I have time to do something like that. But I'm just wondering, but it's intriguing. Yeah. So.
Yeah, it's energy to get anything off the ground, right? And it was like it's something I care about. You know what I mean? Like I'm to the point in my career, like with freelancing, I've done enough work that I didn't really care about, just for the money. And I'm pretty much just done doing things just for the money. So I was like, I'm going to do this. This is something I really believe in. I don't see anybody else doing it. And it's something that the art community needs. So.
Yeah. It's awesome. I'm just like really impressed. So I guess I wanted to kind of go back to comics and maybe Kickstarter and everything. So you launched your Kickstarter yesterday?
Yeah, yesterday.
All right. And like the first day you were like halfway funded, which is pretty good.
Not bad, yeah. We're doing okay. Bad. We're like 66% last time I checked. So
yeah, I think those
palms are still sweating.
Better than I did, but yeah, no. And so, I know a lot of people that they want to do Kickstarters and everything, and again, it's like, well, you have an interview on your channel with Tyler James, right?
Mm-hmm.
So he always says, because I used to listen to his podcast, especially back when I ran my own Kickstarter. But it's kind of like, you know, it's about the crowd. You need the crowd before, you know, before the project or whatever. I forgot exactly what his phrase was, but you need to build that audience first. So, I mean, you've kind of done that with the mailing list. I'm kind of trying to do that with YouTube, and then hopefully soon with my own mailing list and everything. And I've sort of got a whole plan. I mean, I'm trying to build, like, because I just started getting into doing digital design elements and things like that I'm selling on Creative Market and everything.
Yeah, I saw that on your Instagram. You had some zombies.
Yeah, I got a zombie pack and I've got a zombie pack and a robot pack and a monster pack.
Yeah, that's awesome, dude.
But what I'm going to start doing is, once I've got a couple more that I'm going to do those packs, and then I'm going to start doing some resources for comic book artists, digital resources for comic book artists. And so, you know, I want to create a really cool one that I will, you know, basically give for free for, you know, joining the mailing list. Plus, you know, eventually do other cool things that you can add to that and everything. And then I want to create like a YouTube series on basically soup to nuts on creating a comic book. So that's kind of what I'm planning on, how I'm going to try to, you know, build my email list when I get to that point. I got a bunch of other stuff I got to get to before that, but and then kind of sometimes I just kick myself. So I'm like, should I just focus on the email list now? I should ask you this, because there's also that thing that I tell people not to do, not to always, don't wait till everything's perfect. So should I try to do something in the meantime before I do that?
Yeah, don't wait. Yeah.
Right.
And you don't even need to have a free opt-in offer. Like, what you can do is, like, you can take my content off my YouTube channel for all I care, or like compile like the best, like, what is your audience, like, what's one of their biggest problems that they're having?
Right. Well, I think I find that a lot of the people that follow me on YouTube, they're comic book creators. I think that's why I kind of want to build that comic book course. And, you know, but then again, I've got people that follow me that aren't comic book creators. So are they going to be interested in a digital comic book tools that they can download?
So you don't want to alienate people. Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know if it makes sense to have different things for different people.
It could be whatever's the most popular content on your channel is probably what your audience likes the best, I would assume. Right. So if you do something centered around that, like just do an extended topic video on a certain topic, right? And just say, hey, here's a free video, and just take a Saturday, shoot like a 10-minute video giving people more valuable information than they would get in one of your YouTube videos. Make it like information that's exclusive to that one video, and that's all you need, you know?
Yeah, because my experience with email lists, I mean, I have one, but I haven't really sent anything. I started building it just when I do comic conventions, and I offered, like, you know, sign up for my mailing list and get a button or something like that. And that's hard to do because they have to, you know, they have to write everything down. It's not like they can just, you know, it's so easy to just click on something and say, yeah, opt in when you're on the computer and everything. So, you know, I kind of I haven't done much with that. But the other thing is, I noticed, I think you talked about this as well, was, and I'm not sure I would go that route, even though I can see how it's working with you, but you said don't even go crazy with like graphics, or just basically just it's text. But then your text does link to your website, and then it's kind of got like the videos, and it's got the, you know, it's nice, it looks good, and it's designed nicely and everything like that. But your email is just basically starts off with you just introducing yourself, telling your story, and, you know, offering a little bit of, you know, wisdom or whatever. And so yeah.
That's the thing, is the welcome sequence has been a really powerful tool for me, because I use MailChimp, and you can set up like automatic emails for when people sign up for your list.
Right.
And one of the things I do is I'll send them like 5 emails 5 days in a row, basically just to like to me, get them comfortable with me, like emailing them. And like one of the things I'll do in the first email is say, like, I'll ask them a question and I'll encourage them to reach out. And I've made friends with so many people in my audience just from that one thing. Like I get people email me back all the time, like, hey, you know, thanks for the content or whatever. And you make new friends that way. It's really cool.
Yeah, yeah. No, I mean it's really impressive. So I mean it kind of opened up a whole, you know, I don't know. I don't just to see, you know, I've read a lot of these art marketing books. I've you know, listened to podcasts on the importance of email lists and everything, and it doesn't, you know, it's not always art centric, but to see somebody who's doing it and applying it to art, you know, it kind of opens up your eyes a little bit. But that's the thing, because I think a lot of people they'll listen to like self-help books or whatever, and they may not think it pertains to them. But a lot of these I don't even want to call them tactics or principles or whatever. I mean, they can be applied to pretty much anything, and especially art. So.
Absolutely, and that's Scott. That's one of the. It's funny you mentioned because I noticed that people would ask me like, "Well, how do I get people to sign up for my mailing list?" And I would send them like an internet marketing book, like, "Just read this book. This stuff works." Like,
right.
They'd be like, "An internet marketing book? Like, I'm an artist. I don't want to read that."
Right.
But if I take that same information, if I put it in a YouTube video of like me doing a time lapse video of me drawing. And I title the video "How to Sell Art Online the Easy Way," all of a sudden, hundreds of views, tons of likes, people sending me emails. I love your YouTube, but it's the same information. It's just packaged for artists, right?
Right.
So,
yeah, and definitely, like for me, like I don't have time to like read, you know. So I'll listen to like books on tapes, or I listen to YouTube videos while I'm at work. So I mean, but that's pretty much all I listen to all day long is like, you know, artists on YouTube or marketing or, you know, tips and things like that. I mean, I just soak that stuff in, but I kind of have to have it presented in a different way because I know if I sat down to read a book at night, I start reading and I fall asleep or whatever, or I just, you know, for me, it's easier to listen to an audio book or whatever. So like you said, it's just basically taking that information and repackaging.
Right. Yeah, well, and it's the same, like, I think about it, like, when I want to learn how to do something in Photoshop, I don't want to have to read the manual, you know what I mean? I want to go on YouTube, some guy who already knows how to do it, like, have him tell me how to do it. So that's what I learned, like, having an audience and anyone listening as an artist, like, if you know how to do something or you have some sort of specialty knowledge, share that with the art community because it's going to make you valuable to people, and they'll keep coming back to you that way, you know?
Exactly, and especially if you're trying to figure out how to do something, and you go online and you can't find the resources you're looking for, assuming that you can figure that out one way or another, then you put out that video because people are searching for that. If it's a problem you have, chances are it'll be a problem somebody else has. Like, here's a problem I had. I'm like, I still don't have a solution to it, so I'm just going to put this out there. So maybe if anyone listens to this, maybe you guys will know or whatever. So my friend Marshall Lee and I, we started doing this art challenge called Take Me to Your Leader Tuesday, where you draw an alien, you know, every Tuesday or whatever. So we were trying to figure out how to do a collaboration where, you know, we would set everything up, you know, beforehand. We'd schedule our videos and everything, and we'd link to each other's videos. But I could not, and I still haven't figured this out, I can't figure out how to, you know, set that stuff up beforehand and have those private links and everything that go through and hopefully this isn't, you know, Greek to everyone out there listening, but basically just so we could both go live at the exact same time, our videos would all be in place, because when we tried to set that up, when we scheduled it, I tried to put Marshall's links in my thing, and it says this video doesn't exist because it's on private for him, and vice versa. So I had to kind of wait till it went live and then drop the link in, you know, and it's kind of a hassle to do that. So I went online to try to figure out how to do this, and because as you can tell, I'm trying to explain this, and it's kind of hard to understand, but the only results I got were, you know, here's how to find people to collaborate with, or things that weren't what I was looking for, and I don't even know how to phrase what I'm talking about. So, you know, there's certain things that if that information is not out there, you can put that out there. But even if I did, I don't know if I could describe what that problem is, because there's got to be a solution to it, but I don't even know how to search for it, you know?
Yeah.
So, but if anyone out there has done that, let me know.
Yeah, I'm not very tech savvy. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess I have some friends that are bigger YouTubers that have probably done that. Maybe I should hit them up and find out how they do that if they have an answer to that. But yeah, I don't know. But that was just a recent problem I had. But yeah, but for the most part, I mean, that's sort of an anomaly where I can't find what I'm looking for. Most of the time, I'm just surprised. Like sometimes I'll do a Google search or search on YouTube, and like they're probably not gonna know what I'm talking about. This is probably some crazy issue that just I'm having. And sure enough, there's you either find a thread of people that are having that same problem, or there's a YouTube video that tells you how to do it. And it's so easy to figure things out now because people are putting this information out there for everyone,
And everyone listening, what Scott just said is gold, because people are looking for you. They're searching for you right now. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, find out what they want to know or what they need, and just like put it out there. So when they're looking for that, they're going to find you.
Yeah. And tutorials, I don't do a lot of tutorials, partially because they take so long to put together, at least for me.
Yeah.
And the thing is, like, especially when I'm working in like Illustrator or Photoshop, I know how to work those programs, but I don't know what all the tools are called. I just know what it looks like.
Yeah.
It looks like a little magic, well, it's a magic wand or whatever, but it's got a little stick with things coming out of it. Click on that.
I have that problem with that white arrow with the plus next to it.
The direct selection tool?
Is that the one that it has the plus next to it?
I don't know about the plus. Yeah, I think that's to add a. See, that's when I don't add a point or something.
Yeah, but
I don't know the terminology. I just know how to use it. So
it's a tool, and I never use the right term. But it's like when like the white arrow tool, like the white arrow, you can like select a specific point.
Right.
The white arrow with the plus sign, like you hold down where the white arrow is on the toolbar. Go to that white arrow with the plus sign. You can grab, like by double clicking, it'll grab entire objects.
Right.
Like grouped objects, and it's great for like editing or doing production work. But if I were doing a tutorial and I were just like, use the white arrow plus tool, like it's not gonna work really well, So like I definitely feel that. The other thing is I'm on an ancient computer, so doing screen captures just like slows it down to a crawl where it just crashes at this point.
Right.
But yeah, tutorials are definitely like a good way to go.
But yeah, that kind of goes back to just finding your strength, because there are a lot of people that are really good, and sometimes it's not. You don't even have to be the best artist, but if you can articulate how to do something, everyone's got something they're really good at, and if you can explain how to do something, that's gonna be helpful for me. I know how to do things, but I don't know how to really articulate how to do that. I mean, and the times that I do kind of show my process, and but in those cases, all I can do is be honest and say, hey, I don't know what this is called. This is just how I do it. Hopefully this is helpful to you. So, but everyone's kind of do their own thing. I mean, like, to me, I just kind of, most of the time I don't do a lot of editing on my videos. I just try to be as authentic as I can. And you can go through the thing that really, and I haven't got called out on this that much, but like I'll say the wrong words. Like I did a thing on digital versus analog, drawing or whatever, and I kept switching the terminologies by accident. And I'm talking about one thing and I'm saying the other, and like, God, this has got to be confusing to people, but no one's like said you're an idiot, man.
Oh, it's okay, man. I do that on podcasts all the time, Scott, where it's like I'm not very articulate all the time, and especially if I'm doing a podcast at like the end of the day, like I can't believe I'm talking right now. Right. It's 1 a.m. I don't know. Usually I'll do one at like 5 p.m. and my brain will be dead, and I'll just like say something so stupid. I'll be like, that made no sense. Like, but nobody seems to notice. So
because I used to be like that with like I'd be listening to like the radio, or whatever, and they've got those like musical trivia questions, and people are getting the songs wrong. I'm like, you idiot! Don't you know what it is? And and then I find, but until you're in that position, you're on the spot. You don't really know what it's like, And there's certain things. There's certain things that just things, but they don't come to you right away or whatever, and so you never know. I mean, it's just like, I don't know.
Oh, yeah, and you know what? That's what I learned making my feature film. Like, I don't criticize movies anymore. Like,
Right, exactly.
until you've made a feature film, like, you have no idea how hard that is.
Right.
Like, even if you have a bajillion dollars and like huge crew and everything, it's really hard. But that's why I don't know. Yeah. I appreciate everyone.
We've touched on that, like on this I was about to call it a podcast, but this show, like multiple times, like the idea that like a lot of people are like super critical of other comic artists and cartoonists and stuff, or people who've just never made an entire comic. Once you get a comic, or like, critical of other professional artists, it's like, once you realize like how difficult it is to actually make a living doing this thing, then like you start to get to this point of like, well, I don't get it, but man, that must have been a pain in the ass to get going. And good for them, like fun, like at least they're making stuff, because it's hard, and then the head games that go on when you're in the thick of making a project, and it's a really difficult thing to make stuff. I think it's a lot easier to criticize stuff. So like when you're in the thick of making stuff, you start noticing people like, oh, this song sucks, and you're like, but a band wrote that. It took them a long time,
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm trying to actually improve on that, because I still catch myself every once in a while being like, oh man, this totally sucks, and then I'm like, wait, do I want to say that?
Yeah. Well, there's a place for film criticism, obviously, and like things like that. You know what I mean? But it's like, yeah, if it's hate, or like that's just somebody standing on the sidelines. They're not even in the game. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, that's exactly the way I've put it on my vlog before too, where it's just like it is one of those things where it's a lot easier to just kind of stand on the sidelines, but when you're in the trenches, then like I take people's criticism, or people who are in the trenches, way more seriously than people who aren't doing anything. And you drew that finger off, and like, well, like I'd listen to that if that were somebody from the trenches, but you're not fighting the war. Like, don't criticize us. I don't know. It's interesting, but you're right. Like, I mean, at the same time, if I'm writing a crappy story, I'm writing a crappy story. So, yeah, I don't know. Yeah, that's definitely funny. Like, especially animation, man. Just to get that thing working, that's a headache, man. That blows my mind. Did you know how to use the programs and stuff before you got
in? Yeah, I learned After Effects in school when I studied animation and stuff. So,
did you realize going into it like how much work it was actually going to be, though?
Yeah, but I kind of just broke it down into sequences and then like into shots, and that's the same thing I do with a comic now. It's like I don't think about it as drawing this four issue arc. I'm just like, let's just draw this one page today. Let's just focus on this one page.
Yeah, so like the turtle approach almost, where you're just like,
it's a compound effect, I call it. It's like the decisions you make every day are going to add up over time, right? And if you draw a page a day, you're going to wind up with a stack in a book eventually.
Yeah.
So, how long were you in? I mean, like, I guess in the animation program or whatever before you kind of decided that you want to do your own independent projects? Was there ever a point where you're like, oh, I want to work for Disney or DreamWorks or anything like that? Because there's so many people, I think that's their goal, but it doesn't seem like there's a lot of people that go into animation wanting to kind of do their own thing.
Yeah. Well, when I was in school, I didn't know what I wanted to do. I was just like, I guess I want to work for a studio. I guess I want to work in like video games or animation or something. But it's because I wasn't really clear about why I make art. And that's why when people join my list, I don't know if you saw that video, Scott, but it's like, write down why you do what you do. And like, I help artists with this because it's so important. Because otherwise you could wind up working for someone you really don't want to work for, but you think you have to. And there's this tremendous pressure on students. There's tremendous pressure to go to college. There's tremendous pressure to, like follow a certain path or whatever. But everybody's path is different. And I think it's important to realize.
Yeah. All right, so where are we at? We still got a little time, I think. Are you getting tired?
No,
It's
man.
late for
No,
you.
I'm good. No.
Well,
You guys
I'm
are fun
happy.
to talk to, so.
It's an hour earlier than usual for me because we don't do daylight savings time in Arizona. So now I'm on Pacific time. So usually it's around this time. It's like 11 for me, and it used to be 12, and then but
No,
so-
I'm good. I might
so
have
I'm
to
kind of
take a
spoiled.
bathroom break at some point if we're going to keep going, but I'm good right now.
Well, we can. We can, depending on how soon you got to do that. We could wrap it up, and then we could even chat afterwards or whatever.
No, I'm cool for a while. So.
Okay. So I'm trying to think. What haven't we covered? Is there anything else you wanted to mention, Josh?
Well, I have a whole bunch of questions. I mean, okay, so there's a mailing list component to your marketing and stuff. Because looking at your portfolio and stuff, it doesn't seem like it's just the marketing that's selling your work. Like, it seems like you're also an extremely talented illustrator and animator, so does that play into it? Do you let the market kind of dictate your content, or do you kind of create the content and then figure out the market? Does that make sense?
How do you mean? What sort of content is like the YouTube videos or?
No. Like
It was like the comics and the animation.
Comics.
Oh no, I make whatever I want. You know what I mean? And then I figure out the market. Yeah. And I see the thing with Neil Gaiman. He said that's what you have to do. Like, don't worry about what the market says. Like, just do you. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, that's what I do.
Yeah, sometimes like for me, because I'm doing like a zombie story, everyone thinks that I was. And when I started, that was when Walking Dead just was massive, just blew up, and I think everyone thought that I was kind of following trends, but no, I was just doing it because it's for me, it's less about the zombies and more about the characters and more about sort of that sort of 80s vibe, like Goonies and Monster Squad and all those kind of things. That's the main thing. I was thinking, well, it hasn't really been done. That hasn't been done with zombies, so that's kind of what why I went to that. But it wasn't like me necessarily trying to find a trend, even though it became something popular. Now it's kind of, I don't know if zombies are as huge of a thing now, but it doesn't matter to me because I like telling the stories, I guess,
Yeah. Yeah, don't chase the trends, set the trends.
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah, I was just curious because it's like, I would imagine what you're doing right now, like, it's probably a harder road than just kind of taking the paycheck from like a commercial or something where they're like, here's gobs of money, make an animation, I'd imagine it's a little more difficult, like in the sense of what it's requiring of you. So like, and just mainly me kind of talking about this for our viewers and stuff, but it's like, I think that if you're going to chase something where you're pushing your own brand, you want to really make sure your brand and your own content and stuff is something you actually believe in and are passionate about. Because if you come at it from just a sheer marketing angle, I think like, once again, there's a lot of like, people who need animators who will pay you gobs of money to do a really crappy corporate dental commercial or something, so like, I think that, I think it shows in like, at least from what I've seen of your personal work, it seems like stuff you're actually really, you want to see out there. And then it's kind of like, well, how do I market this? How do I kind of build this brand so people will actually see this cool stuff I'm making?
Yeah.
Because but I do think a lot of like younger artists, especially in the age of like social media, like sway towards like, oh, I'm gonna make something like that's gonna trend on YouTube, like as opposed to I'm gonna make like content that might trend on YouTube that's gonna service like this greater creative vision I have,
Yeah.
That makes sense. And to me, it's like, it's cool to see your stuff, because it seems like you have a really good balance where it's like you're making the art that you want to make, and then you're also finding a market, but it doesn't seem like crass marketing, you know? I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah, totally. Well, thanks. Yeah, I guess, I don't know. I just kind of make art and then do my best to put it out there for people, so.
For sure, yeah.
Yeah, I think people can see through the crafts marketing. It definitely, I mean, you come across as authentic and you know, so.
Yeah, you definitely have to, man. Like, people can, people will sniff you out pretty quick if you're trying to impress people, I think. And people don't want that. People just want you to be you, you know, because they want to see something new and fresh. And if you just do you, that's going to be new and fresh. Like, I'm sure, Scott, whatever your zombie story is, I'm sure it's new and fresh, you know, even though it's inspired by things that have come before. It's your own unique vision, and that's probably what draws people to it, right?
Yeah, well, one of the comments I got people saying, "Oh, are you upset that Stranger Things came out?" And they're kind of doing sort of something the same kind of genre.
Oh yeah.
And I'm like, no, for one, because I love Stranger Things. Two, it's just like everyone's got their own story to tell. Everyone's gonna tell their story differently. I mean, there's similarities between what I'm doing, what Stranger Things is doing, because there's similarities because we're both inspired by the same things. We're both inspired by Goonies, Monster Squad, Explorers, E.T., Stand By Me, that type of thing. So naturally, there's going to be some similarities, but you know, there's more differences than there are similarities. You know, so no, I mean, anytime you're going to tell the story, and I've used this example so many times, but I like to use it because, like, people sometimes James Cameron's Avatar gets so much pushback because people are saying, oh, it's just Fern Gully in space or something like that, but that's never been done before. So I mean, I'd never be afraid to take two different things and kind of combine them if they haven't been done. I mean, that's kind of what mine is. I'm taking, like Night of the Living Dead and combining it with Goonies. Now, obviously, it's different because we're dealing with different characters, and like my zombies are very different than the traditional zombies. They don't behave the same way. There's certain things that in the zombie lore that doesn't apply to what I'm doing. So there's differences there, so there's all that. I mean, there's no completely original idea. There's just different spins and people putting their own personal touches on things.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people would look at Pacific Rim and just be like, oh, this is derivative and stuff like that. But it's like when you watch Pacific Rim, if you're sane, like, you can tell that like the creator of it like really, really loves the content that he's creating and like loves the lore that he's drawing from.
Exactly.
And it makes a badass movie,
Yeah, I love Pacific Rim. Yeah,
but
awesome.
If you see like there's a lot of like mech attempts that suck and are super corporate, but when it's somebody's creative vision where it's somebody who actually like really authentically like is into what they're doing, it's great. And sometimes it can even be like in the case of what you're creating, Scott, it's like it's really like it's unique and it's uniquely yours. But I do feel like I have seen for every unique vision like yours, Scott, I've also seen people who are creating stuff that is like, I'm going to draw this because this is trending right now.
Right,
and it's like a weird thing because it feels really artificial, and it's like I kind of want to see the authentic person doing it.
Yeah, and I was going to say you can draw from all the stuff that you love and still make it original. I mean, look at pretty much everything Quentin Tarantino's done. I mean, I mean, there's so many different homages to all these movies that he loved, and he's like a cinemaphile. I mean, he knows all about all this stuff, and he brings it in his movies. And look, I mean, he's known as like one of the best directors in the business and a lot of what he's doing is kind of recycled and taking different things that he loves and so, I mean, or even Disney. I mean, almost everything Disney has ever touched is based on something that existed before, but they add their own spin on it. I mean, all the fairy tales and everything. I mean, you read those fairy tales and they just don't have the charm and like the different additional characters that Disney creates and just the way they do stories. But they're not original ideas by any stretch of the imagination, but they take them and they make them original. So.
Yeah, and I think like the better Disney films do have that sense of like the authorship of the director and the story artists in it. You know, the Disney films that are weaker are usually the ones where you're like, wow, okay, they were like, this is trending right now. Let's make a film about this. You know, which happened like to also cause like a major drop in people liking Disney for a while. You know, because it's like, you know, people can sense it. It's just this weird unspoken thing that people can kind of sniff out, you know. But
there's no formula for art, you know. You can't like just we need to have a flashy pop song. It's like there's no formula to it, man. It's art. It's like,
yeah, exactly. And like I think that's what's frustrating about doing commercial work a lot of the times, because it's kind of like I don't know, like if I were a millionaire and I decided to hire Scott, like, Scott, make me a viral video. You had a video go viral, make me a viral video. And it's like, you can't kind of do that. Like, you just kind of can't just do that. Like, you can attempt it, you can do all the right steps, but it's like most likely a lot of the stuff that's aiming for that is not going to get anywhere close, you know? And then, like, we've said this on this show, but it's like, let's say it does, and then that ends up being your career, then like, you know, once again, is that any better than like getting hired by like, you know, a healthcare company to do like an ad for like, you know, an antidepressant or something and animate it? Like, you know, like the point being like, you know, you'll make you might even end up stuck in that trap making more than you would making authentic work. But I think like you're way better off like making stuff that's true and authentic. And that can be all across the board with genre and stuff. But yeah. So so like I think that's fascinating that you're making the switch from animation to comics. So far, so are you said you've been making comics for a while. Like, so far, what's your experience with it now? Is this your first like serious crack at comics?
Yeah, first serious one. Like I've been making comics since I was like a little kid, but I never like really finished anything and like put it out there. You know what I mean? It would just be like the reasons I failed math class in high school, basically, because I was sitting in the back of the class drawing comics. But yeah, this is my first time ever doing it like professionally. Nice.
Did it feel good to kind of finish? I mean,
oh yeah, man, dream come true. Especially getting the letters in. Like Marco just put the letters in for like the first 5 pages so we could have something to show for the Kickstarter. And just seeing that was like, oh my God, like it's real, you know?
Yeah, it'll be a trip when you get it. So have you printed a proof yet, or you're gonna?
No, yeah, I got to do that still.
That's gonna be a trip. Like that moment when you first see it, I think will be cool.
Yeah. Well, I've had that in animation when like the composer will put the music in and the sound design's in. It's like, it's the same thing with lettering in comics. It's like the finishing touch, you know, it's just like, wow, this came out of my imagination, you know?
Yeah, for sure, man.
It's a great feeling.
Well, I think that's a pretty good point, you know, like, so what is what's your total like vision for where you want to head? Like, because you seem to have a pretty clear direction of where you want to go, like what kind of market you're pushing. Do you have like a clear like goal line? Or, I mean, with the comic, it sounds like to get 4 issues out, right? Complete your story.
I want to finish this one, and then I have my next project. I already have like the second draft is finished for the script for like my next project, which is going to be completely different. I'm going to take a break from this series and probably pick it up like next year or something. And then I have another book after that I want to do. And with each project I do, I want to do a little more with like the marketing and the sales and just test out different approaches and sort of continue to share that with like the comics. So
Nice. Cool. So like I think that's cool too, because it's like you're drawing viewers in to kind of learn from your successes and your like, you know, if you try something that doesn't work, they can learn from it.
Yeah.
That's cool. That's cool. I think that's kind of a good way to go with like total transparency, you know.
Yeah, just kind of opening the doors and letting people come in, and you know. But
cool. Well, so when you were setting up your Kickstarter, sorry, so like, do you have like a method for what you were like are you concerned? Like for me, I'm freaked out. Like a year from now, I'll probably be done with my book, and I'm probably going to kickstart it. But what freaks me out the most is shipping. And when I mention that, people are like, "Why are you freaked out about shipping?" It's because I have published books before, and like the shipping costs can get crazy. So like, did you kind of like, how did you get around that? Like, how are you gonna kind of work out shipping stuff? Is that as big of a deal with like a floppy, or like, I don't know. I'm just trying to figure out like how you kind of came up with your pricing and your tiers and stuff.
yeah.
Like that.
Yeah, totally. Well, what I did was I just took a couple of comics to the post office, and I was like, if I wanted to mail these, how much would it be? What kind of envelope would I need? How much is the envelope? So I wrote like all those costs down, and then I added on the cost of the printing per book and the shipping per book. And that was, that's how I got like my tiers. But the only thing I didn't calculate shipping for was like the higher tiers, because I'm gonna have like bigger artwork and stuff. But I added a lot of cushion to like the prices for those. But I really should have gone to the post office with the artwork. That's what everyone recommends anyway.
I think I took whatever the heaviest tier was going to be, and then measured that and had everything based on that. But I don't even remember. Was your shipping cost built in, or was it extra? I don't.
No, it's built in. Yeah.
Yeah, that was kind of impressed me, because that was I think when I did mine, if I can remember correctly, I think that my domestic shipping was built in, but if you were international, then there would be an extra charge. And then
that's what I did. Yeah.
But what I did, which I still do, even when I'm not doing Kickstarter, when I ship internationally, I give international customers like extra stuff, and it's not like heavy things, you know, and it's not things that cost a lot of money, but it's still valuable. So it's nothing to stick an extra print or something in there. So they get something that's worth whatever they're whatever they're paying shipping for.
That's a
great
idea.
Yeah, but it doesn't cost me anything extra. So that's like one of my all-time best tips for anyone doing shipping internationally, because it just sucks. And I've been there too. Like I went to back another project. I think a guy was in England, and I'll have to go back it again, because it didn't, whatever reason, it didn't work or something. Kickstarter was flicking out on me, but like, I mean, the shipping, because these were like heavy bits, and the shipping was like crazy. I'm like, oh man, I don't know. I mean, I know this stuff is worth it, but it was going to be like $100, and I'm like, yeah, I don't know if I want to drop $100 right now. But not that it wasn't worth it, because it was great stuff. But
oh man, what about like a variety of tiers? Like, were you worried about like kind of overloading it? Because that's another one of my thoughts is like,
I would be. I wouldn't go too crazy, but
yeah, I would worry about being the restaurant with like too many things on the menu, right, and we'll sit for like 50 hours like trying to decide.
Cheesecake Factory.
It seems like in the world of Kickstarter, like that could be a make or break kind of situation, because it's like if somebody's staring at your page for 30 minutes, they're probably not
right.
gonna, you know. How did you kind of decide on like the amount of tiers? Did you like research it and stuff, or?
I did exactly what we talked about before. I posted an image in a bunch of Facebook groups of like my target audience basically, and I was like, what are your favorite Kickstarter rewards? I tallied up the answers, and that was it. like,
so smart. So you like crowdsourced your.
I just asked people like, "What do you want?" Basically, you know. And nobody said hoodies, so I didn't do hoodies. Like everyone said hard copy of the book was the biggest one. Then like art print, sticker, art book was a little lower. And then basically people just wanted physical stuff. So.
Nice.
Yeah, that's good. That seems like, again, back to the beginning, that seems like kind of your whole plan is you just it's so simple, but it's so genius. It's just like, well, just ask, what do people want? And then give them what they want, you know?
Yeah, because then you know they're going to be interested in it, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
But,
It's working so far.
So we kind of brought it back to the beginning. So maybe it's a good time to wrap it up. So is there before I do that, is there anything else that you wanted to say, Josh, or anything? Or
No, I'm good. But yeah.
Other than, obviously we'll give you a chance to promote anything you want, but other than that, Dan, is there anything else you wanted to bring up before we go through our pitches and all that stuff?
Don't chase the trends. We already said it.
Right. All right. Okay. So Josh, where can everyone find you?
You can find me by looking for Joshua Kemble with a K on YouTube. You can also find me on quarterlystories.com, and you can follow my webcomic on tapas.io by searching for Quarterly Stories and adding it to your library there. It's on an interesting chapter about a passionate love for Back to the Future, so it might be a good time to check that out.
Yeah. I'm mostly caught up. I think there's probably maybe 2 or 3 pages that I haven't seen yet, but I was going to kind of wait till they build up a little more and then go, but I don't know.
It's not a bad method, but if you're watching right now, don't wait, go. No, actually,
Yeah.
check out where we can catch your work, Dan. Like, where can we find your work?
DanEkis.com is the best place, DANEKIS.com, and I actually should probably put a link to my Kickstarter on my website. I haven't done that yet, so I will be sure to do that right after this.
Oh, I should have done that. I put a link to your your mailing list. I put a link to your YouTube channel, but I probably should put a link to the Kickstarter as well. But yeah, like I said, I backed it and everything. I would definitely go to, do everything. I would hit up his Kickstarter. You definitely want to check out his YouTube channel, subscribe to it, because he's got great stuff, great interviews with awesome artists, and just a wealth of information, and just the ones where he's just talking about, building an audience or marketing or whatever. I mean, all of his videos are great. And the email list too, there's even more videos and everything on that. So it's just great stuff. So that's kind of why I reached out to Dan and wanted to bring him on the show. And hopefully it won't be the last time. So
yeah, Dan, and since can you just let people know again the name of your comic on Kickstarter so they can at least search for the name? I mean, they'll probably click the link, but in case they're being lazy.
Yeah, Soul of the World. So
right.
SOUL of the World. And if you want a hard copy of the book, you need to get on it now, because we've had over 100 people commit to pledging, and we only have last time I checked, it was less than 120 hard copies. So
I forgot about that. So you're limiting it to only a certain amount.
Yeah.
Too. Okay.
Yeah.
So a limited edition. Yeah.
Get on it now.
It's another thing, that's scarcity. That's
yeah, man.
Yeah. All right. So as far as me, you can find me here. Serkworks pretty much everywhere. I'm on YouTube. I'm on YouTube. Right, you're on YouTube on my channel right now. So I'm also doing March of Robots right now. So if you follow me on Instagram or Facebook or Twitter or Vero, I'm posting all my March of Robots stuff on there, and also on Tuesdays I'm posting the Take Me to Your Leader Tuesday thing that I do with Marshall Lee. So that's what's going on here, and all this talk about mailing lists. We do have a mailing list for this show, and if you want to join that, we don't spam you or anything like that. We just send out every 30 minutes before we go live, just to let you know. We send a little message out, because sometimes it's hard to know when we're going to broadcast, because sometimes we do it on Thursdays. Today we did it on Wednesdays. And it switches back and forth between Josh's channel and my own channel. So if you want to know where we are, sign up for the Artcasters newsletter, and you will find out where we are, and we will let you know. So any parting words, guys?
Thanks to everybody in the chat.
I was going to mention that and I forgot. Yeah, I think today they're mostly talking amongst themselves, but the cool thing about the chat right now is that it is recorded, so it will show up on the channel after the fact, and that was something that YouTube just rolled out like last week. So your conversations will be up there for everyone to see. And what's also cool is because we don't always get a chance to look at the chat while it's going live because we're trying to carry on a conversation. So now we have the ability, so if there's any gems in there or any questions, we can go back through and look those over, and then hopefully we can get back to you and everything. I don't know exactly how we do that other than just, contacting you, because I don't know if you can tag somebody in the chat. I don't know how that works. I'll have to look into that. But yeah, thank you everyone in the chat. Anything else, guys?
Thank you, Josh and Scott, man. I really appreciate you guys having me.
Thanks for coming on. We will see all you guys sometime next week on Josh's channel.
Word.
Later.
Peace.